Okay, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Okay, so in this episode, I want to try to say something about Plato and how it is he conceives of, well, let's call it early childhood education. Not surprisingly, of course, he's got some pretty insightful observations and thoughts here. Some we might do well to consider for ourselves. Okay, so to me, the most amazing thing about Plato, especially when it comes to, again, early childhood education, is just how much he emphasizes the importance of the beauty of our surroundings and our activities. In other words, it's the character of the environment that matters most for him. So for him, education, at its earliest, seems to have very little to do with things like counting or reciting or with some such mechanical activity. But it has to do with, well, with enveloping the child inside a world of beautiful music and beautiful literature and beautiful art and beautiful architecture and religious observances. It has to do with dwelling in a land of health amid all sorts of beautiful shapes, sights, and sounds. As Plato says, education should be like a health-giving breeze that comes from a purer region, providing nourishment for the young soul. The idea is that education is really the process of getting the soul to take on the likeness of all the beautiful things it's surrounded by. We learn and we flourish through imitating and growing more like the things around us. Being surrounded by these things, we unconsciously take on their harmony and their proportions and their sweetness and their goodness. The beauty of our environment makes our soul beautiful. I don't know, we might want to think about this a little bit more. I mean, take a look at some of our school buildings or our architecture, our cities, and what's happening to our environment. A lot of it is ugly or soulless or barren or even inhuman. So think about the effect that this ugliness has on us. Just how much of our own unhappiness and lack of inspiration reflects our immediate surroundings? It's an important question. I don't know, maybe Plato is right. Maybe the presence and the cultivation of beauty around us is much more important than we actually think. Actually, it's interesting. Several studies have shown that happiness or well-being is most easily achieved not by wealth or even by health, but by living in an authentically beautiful city or environment. Anyway, okay, so let's get back to Plato and education specifically. So notice a couple of very interesting things here. First of all, notice that for Plato, there seems to be a relation between beauty and morality, or between harmony and virtue. That's to say, growing up around beautiful shapes and sights and sounds makes us more graceful, more restrained, and more excellent in character. On the contrary, though, growing up around ugly and unharmonious things makes us more unruly and nasty in character. I don't know, maybe Plato is onto something here. Maybe aesthetics and geometry and form shape us much more than we think. Okay, now the second thing to notice is this. What Plato is telling us is that the ultimate goal of education, at least with little children, is the cultivation of moral character, and more broadly, the art of living. So the goal isn't really a vocational one, nor is it a specialized one, nor does it have to do with the simple acquisition of knowledge, something that you might say that education's mostly been about since the time of the Renaissance. No. Again, the goal of education is the formation and the shaping of character. To put it bluntly, it is to become a better, more developed human being. And when you think about it, this seems like the right order of priority. I mean, what I mean is that it seems to make good sense that the first thing education should focus on is the cultivation of moral character and the capacity for wise judgment, and not something else first. And the reason for this is because teaching somebody, say, a skill or a profession without first teaching them how to be a decent and a thoughtful person runs the risk that they'll recklessly use what they've learned to some bad or evil end. Actually, no, this is partly why Plato disliked the sophists, those self-professed teachers who traveled around Greece charging enormous fees with the promise of imparting the skills needed for success in this world. For Plato, what the sophists were doing, well, that was sort of like teaching somebody how to box, but without guidance as to when doing so might be appropriate. But the bottom line for Plato is that mere skill or knowledge, or let's say training for vocational purposes, just isn't real education. And that's because technical training doesn't lead to the cultivation and the nourishment of the true nature of the whole person. It doesn't lead to the proper order and establishment of the soul. Okay, I want to mention one more thing here. So earlier I talked about how important the beauty of the things we surround ourselves with is, right? Well, for Plato, it seems that one of the most useful instruments for education in this regard, maybe the most useful one, is music. Now, okay, why is that? Well, I'm speaking loosely here, but you could say that it's basically because, more than anything else, it's through music that harmony and rhythm find their way into our soul. What I mean is that for Plato, it seems that beautiful melodies, what they do is they harmonize, or they order our soul and so move it towards goodness, towards the highest and the best and the most graceful in us. And that's not so strange, is it? I mean, we do it all the time when we sing to our small children before they go to sleep. We do this because by doing so, we make them feel the way that they should. We make them feel calm and balanced and restored. What do you know? Education begins right there. Bye for now.